Let's revisit an often vilified loan product that was the poster child of the Great Recession, but in the current market environment may actually be one of the best debt instruments available to you that could save you tens of thousands of dollars over the next several years, if you understand it and know how to use it in the right way. Yes, I am talking about adjustable rate mortgages, or ARMs. Now, before you turn this off and say that you would never do this or suggest it to a client, just hear me out for a second.
I'm all ears.
So let's start first by defining exactly what an adjustable rate mortgage is. An adjustable rate mortgage is a type of home loan with an interest rate that can change periodically. With almost any ARM, there is an initial fixed rate period. ARMs usually start with a fixed rate of a certain period of time, typically 3, 5, or 7 years. Then after the initial fixed rate period is ended, the loan will go through an adjustment period. And during that time, the rate can adjust up or down. Yes, it can adjust down, but it only does it once a year, not every week or month or anything like that. And it adjusts based on market condition and the index that the ARM is based off. So these seem simple enough, right? There's no calculus here. So why did these loans get such a bad rap?
I got to know.
Well, during the housing boom of the early 2000s, many borrowers took out ARMs with low initial rates and low initial monthly payments without fully understanding the risks. Now, there are many out there that would say that you're an adult and you should have known what you were getting into. But I say that there were many out there doing my job who took advantage of people's ignorance and just saw dollar signs and chose not to explain to people how these work and warn them of the risks.
That's a bad guy. That's a really bad guy.
And in a lot of cases, these loan officers didn't understand them themselves and were hired to dial out and get people committed because there was so much money flying around for these loans. And this was just the reality of mortgages and real estate in the early 2000s. Just go watch the movie The Big Short and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It was a great movie and it really explains everything that happened in a very simple, understandable way. So then what happened?
What happened?
Well, buyers experienced what's called a payment shock when their initial low rate period ended and their payments ballooned by hundreds of dollars a month. And people who had multiple properties or qualified with income that wasn't real because it was only stated and not verified, these people could then not afford to make those payments and therefore had to foreclose. And then a flood of homes hit the market because of the frequent use of these products and the lack of education on how they work.
Am I doomed? Are you doomed? Are we all doomed?
No.
But also because lenders were incentivized in many ways to give out more of these loans. And they didn't have to verify the income or assets like we do today. And I would argue that piece of not verifying borrowers' ability to repay these loans once they adjusted was the real cause of the collapse and not just the adjustable rate itself. This is what led to lenders often approving loans without proper income verification, resulting in borrowers taking on more debt than they could actually afford. Scary stuff, right?
I'm scared, Pancho.
And you don't want to be a part of that kind of game. But let's look at where they are now and take a little bit different approach. So for the last 2 years, interest rates have been higher for longer than most of the industry expect. And we are just now starting to see these rates come back down. Now, I don't believe that we're headed back to the 2 to 3% mortgage rates, but we could be in the 4% range within the next couple of years. So with that backdrop, let's look again at how these adjustable rates could work. First off, in many cases, ARMs typically offer lower initial rates compared to fixed rate mortgages, which can result in a lower monthly payment initially. Recently, however, this has not really been the case. Fixed rates have had the same and sometimes better rates than ARMs in the recent history. Why is that?
Tell me why.
Well, the Federal Reserve increased short-term rates, making it harder for lenders to offer competitive ARM rates. This is due to an inverted yield curve. Now, an inverted yield curve occurs when short-term interest rates are higher than long-term rates. This particular situation is unusual and often signals economic uncertainty or expectations of future economic slowdown, because normally long-term rates are higher than short-term rates because lenders demand more compensation for the risk of lending money over a longer period of time, because that just makes sense, right? So when the Fed starts to lower these short-term rates, which is most likely what is going to begin occurring in September, the immediate effect is a decrease in interest rates for short-term bonds and loans, including ARMs. Now, long-term rates might not decrease as much, and in some cases, like crazy national debt, they actually can go up if investors expect stronger future economic growth due to the Fed's action. Now, this expectation of improved economic conditions could lead to higher demand for long-term investments, driving yields up. So as the Fed begins lowering these short-term rates, you should start to see ARM rates reacting at a much faster pace than the standard 30-year fixed.
Well, this is interesting.
Meaning that these ARM rates might be cheaper much sooner than the fixed rates. Add to that a declining rate environment over the next several years, and that means that if you chose to do an ARM to buy or refinance your home, the likelihood that you wouldn't have to do another refinance every few years, adding more cost to your loan each time that you do it, increases. So in the very near future, an adjustable rate mortgage could have a lower rate for a fixed 3, 5, 7, or 10 years than a 15 or 30-year fixed. It's also also very likely to automatically adjust down when your rate adjustment period begins to the lowest rate on the market at that time, saving you thousands in interest on its way down and adjusting every single year downward. And this also means that you would not have to spend thousands of dollars refinancing each time that the market rate falls, saving you money on your current fixed rate. Now, again, you need to intimately understand how these arms work, which is why having a mortgage professional on your side explaining all this and guiding you each year on the next move is incredibly important. You also need to feel secure in your job and your income so that if the time does come when the market starts to turn to a higher rate environment, then it'll be time to pull that trigger on the permanent refinance into a fixed rate as we enter an increasing rate environment. I hate to say that debt is a game because it's a very dangerous one if you don't know what you're doing, but it is a game. And the wealthy play it all the time and they play it really well. And if you know the rules and have someone to help you navigate through the rough spots, it can be a game that you can win. So if you want to know more about it, give me a shout. I'm happy to walk you through it.